Alright, from now on, we'll begin our study of MCU. First, let's clarify exactly what an MCU is. MCU is an acronym for Microcontroller Unit. It is a structure where CPU, memory, along with peripherals such as GPIO, timer, ADC, and UART communication are all integrated together within this single chip. In a PC, the CPU only calculates, but an MCU can, for instance, perform UART communication with external circuits. You don't need to know what UART is right now. I'll explain it later, but it's a component used for communication. This enables it to connect with external circuits and facilitate the exchange of data in both directions. An MCU can directly send and receive signals with external circuits, including sensor inputs. And as an output, it can also produce a PWM signal, for example. And the specific microcontroller unit that we will be utilizing for this entire course is called the STM32 F767. This MCU is from a company called ST Microelectronics. However, the CPU integrated into this chip was not directly designed by ST, but rather by a company known as ARM. And as I'll explain later, there are many different types of CPU cores. Among them, we will be using a CPU called the Cortex-M7. To clarify, ARM is a company that designs CPU cores. ST then takes that core from ARM and integrates it with all the surrounding components, which are known as peripherals. You can think of them as a company that designs a single chip by combining these elements. So in this lecture, we won't directly deal with the internal core itself. Instead, we'll focus on peripheral devices, getting the MCU actual functions to operate through practical application. Furthermore, we will not be making use of the HAL library. We will control the MCU by directly configuring and controlling its registers, thereby putting its actual functions into operation. And here in this diagram, there is a bus. This bus is crucial because it allows the CPU, its internal core, and peripheral devices to exchange data. Through this bus, data can be transmitted and received. And eventually, as I'll elaborate later, the bus system runs on a clock. So we'll be transferring data using this clock-based bus. For instance, if we're sending or receiving data with the GPI, it will connect to the CPU through this very bus. Similarly, the timer, along with all the other components, transmits and receives data entirely through the bus. You can think of it that way. Now let's take a look at the various types of ARM cores. First, we have the Cortex-A core, which is one type. This core is widely used in high-performance embedded processors such as smartphones, tablets, and personal computers. They are typically multi-core and are capable of delivering high performance. And then for the Cortex-R, it's also high performance, but its main focus and what truly makes it stand out is its real-time processing functionality. It is capable of processing data in real time. This type of Cortex-R chip is extensively utilized in critical sectors such as medical devices, aerospace applications, and the automotive industry. The Cortex-M is the MCU that will be used in our course. This core is extensively utilized within MCU-based embedded systems and is designed for low power operation. And it also has the ability to process data in real time, similarly. So you can consider it a microcontroller unit that is widely and broadly used. We'll be using the Cortex-M, but actually, there are several different types within the M series. So if you look at the diagram on the right, you'll see we have the M0, M3, M4, M33, and M7 models available for various applications. We'll use the STM32 F7 series. So looking at the left side, it is a high-performance line of microcontroller units. The H7 series, in fact, offers better performance than the F7 series shown. To be honest, just using the F7 series that we're currently utilizing is sufficient for almost all applications. You can consider it to be quite versatile, and you'll find the frequency listed right here at the bottom. For example, the F7 series operates at 216 MHz, and the H7 series is documented as running at 550 MHz. So what does this mean? A microcontroller unit, an MCU, ultimately operates based on a clock. A clock is a signal that turns on and off like this, and it's fed into the MCU. So this ultimately becomes the reference timing. For instance, the MCU operates by processing various instructions on each rising edge of the clock signal. This implies that a faster clock frequency, if the frequency is indeed faster than this, results in a much more frequent and tightly packed on-off cycle. And that makes the instruction processing speed faster. So for the H7 series, since it can operate at speeds up to 550 MHz, that's nearly twice the 216 MHz here, a rather significant difference. Therefore, when assessing the performance of an MCU, the clock speed is very frequently utilized as a fundamental metric for evaluation. Now, before we delve into the theory and practical application, you will need to download two essential documents. To begin, if you search on Google for the STM32 F767 datasheet and its reference manual, you'll be able to download both PDF documents. So what you're looking at right now is the datasheet. The datasheet goes up to 256 pages. The reference manual, which you see here, goes all the way up to 1,724 pages. The truth is, there are indeed many, many pages. Consequently, attempting to meticulously read through all of them would be quite an undertaking, perhaps even impractical. So the study method I suggest involves simply clicking on the table of contents. There, you'll discover all the relevant topics and their categories are already well arranged. For example, if we were to cover GPIO in this session, you'd navigate to the GPIO section right here and proceed to thoroughly read through its associated documentation. And I'll be explaining the most crucial aspects within my lecture. If you carefully listen to my explanations during the lecture and then proceed to meticulously review these documents, it will significantly aid your learning journey. You might be asking, what's a reference manual and what's a datasheet? So concerning this reference manual, when we are dealing with the microcontroller unit, we will ultimately be directly configuring the GPIO registers at a later stage. In such a scenario, the reference manual provides exhaustive details on the GPIO registers, explaining what they are, how to precisely configure them, given that we must set these internal components bit by bit, and elucidating the meaning behind each individual bit setting. Then, the datasheet mostly contains explanations of the hardware characteristics. For instance, even within the same STM32F series, there are multiple package variations available, as you can see. A different package means the physical shape of the hardware is different. So the number of pins can be different, the size is different, and sometimes even the temperature characteristics can vary slightly. While we frequently consult the datasheet, during programming, we'll generally find ourselves referring to the reference manual more often. But anyway, both are important documents, so you must download and keep them. Let's examine the STM32 F7 series internal block diagram. Now, if you turn to page 20 of this datasheet, you'll find a comprehensive block diagram, just like this one. Initially, it may seem quite intricate. Therefore, I will meticulously explain each crucial component one by one, and I will continually revisit these explanations throughout our lectures for better understanding. To begin, the ARM core that we initially talked about, the Cortex-M7, is depicted here in this diagram. This core, as I've mentioned before, is one that was developed and meticulously engineered by the company ARM themselves. The various peripherals found around here were specifically designed by ST Microelectronics, then integrated with this core, and finally fabricated into a single microcontroller unit chip. And I explained that data is transmitted and received through a bus when it's exchanged. For this core to effectively transmit and receive data with its various peripherals, it relies on the AHB bus matrix, which then routes this communication through the dedicated AHB1 bus. The F7 series operates at 216 MHz, as I said. That's ultimately because this internal bus is capable of operating at a maximum of 216 MHz, which is why it was indicated as such. So if we follow this bus, we can see that it extends all the way over here. Then, you can confirm that it is directly connected to this very GPIO port. So even if you don't fully understand what the GPIO is yet, just know that data exchange with this specific GPIO occurs using the AHB1 bus for both transmission and reception. Then, if we go a bit further down, this bus branches once more, splitting into what are known as the APB1 and APB2 buses. It branches off this way. So if we look at APB2 first, this particular bus can operate at speeds of up to 108 MHz. Thus, in this specific case, we can operate it by exchanging data with different modules such as the timer, UART, and SPI communication interfaces. Then, the one branching off to the right here is APB1, and this can be operated at a maximum frequency of up to 54 MHz. Here as well, multiple timers exist. We can also communicate with various modules such as UART, SPI, and I2C. So I've just briefly summarized the most fundamental things that serve as a starting point for us. The core reason I'm recording this lecture is that I plan to offer a course later, specifically on controlling BLDC motors and PMSM. The board I'm currently using also utilizes a 3-phase inverter in its operation. The MCU chip utilized within that three-phase inverter, specifically for that purpose, is indeed the STM32 F767 microcontroller unit. But you all don't have this specific kit right now, do you? With the same STM32 F767 evaluation board, you could perform exercises similarly. Of course, there might be some circuit differences present, but this course isn't overly difficult. If you follow along well, you should be able to do it without much trouble.